During war, information on the enemy is of the utmost importance. The great Sun Tzu said, "So only a brilliant ruler or a wise general who can use the highly intelligent for espionage is sure of great success." This is essential for military operations, and the armies depend on this in their actions. During the American Revolution, the Americans used black slaves as spies to great effect. The brave men who undertook this journey were almost always overlooked, underestimated, and seen as harmless. They were able to have such a huge impact, and did tremendous damage to the British during the war. All of the stories that are about to be told needs to come with the statement that this was an incredibly dangerous undertaking. All these men would have been hanged if caught, all of them risked their personal lives in these endeavors. Americans and British alike were so used to having black slaves and servants around them that it was felt they could speak freely without issue. Kwaku Honeyman was a slave owned by a loyalist working in a British general's house. He could very well have been in the room serving food when discussions about war and strategy were going on without anyone thinking twice about him. The general whom Kwaku was working for was captured at his Rhode Island summer home, which without the help of Kwaku would not have been possible. Cato was a slave who was working for a man named Hercules Mulligan. Hercules was working on gathering intelligence on the British in New York. He has the information but had no way of getting this information to the Patriots. So he has his slave Cato deliver the messages under the guise of making deliveries. Cato was able to pass through enemy lines, deliver messages, and really travel without risk of being harassed or accused of being a spy. James Armistead was a slave born in Virginia who was recruited to be a spy by French General Marquis de Lafayette. James posed as a runaway slave looking to secure his freedom. He entered the British camp at Yorktown in 1781. He was able to earn the trust of the British and General Cornwallis, who was in charge there. Some think by claiming to be a double agent and spy on the Americans. James was able to look at all the general's papers, which included the most sensitive information possible, from troop strength, troop placement, and morale to name a few. The bravery and courage this takes cannot be understated in the least. You are walking into the enemy's camp, claiming you will spy for them, gathering intelligence as you do all of this. And since both sides think you are spying for them, you are able to move between both American and British sides of the war with ease. All of these people did this work while still being slaves, still being owned by others. They all eventually got their freedom some a decade later or more. It is truly amazing the risks they took under the circumstances. But the heroes here were most of the time honored by local and state governments when granting their freedom. There was a slave named Antigua working for the South Carolina governor who was employed for the purposes of procuring information of the enemy's movements and designs. Antigua always executed the commissions with which he was entrusted with diligence and fidelity, and obtained very considerable and important information from within the enemy's lines, frequently at the risk of his life. He and his family were given their freedom for his service. Yes, all of these men were slaves, but they had something more in common and more important than skin color to make them successful. They were all underestimated. To be fair, they may have been underestimated due to their skin color, but you cannot control why you are underestimated, just use the fact that you are to your advantage. As we don't currently have any writing or first-hand knowledge of what motivated these and many other nameless heroes, we can only speculate, but their actions prove they deserve our praise and remembrance. If you in your current life are underestimated, use it to your advantage and surprise people with your results. The only bad time to be underestimated is probably a job interview, as it will lead the employer from not hiring you. In every other instance, be okay with being overlooked. Don't see it as something you resent, view it as a superpower, and use it to your advantage to outmaneuver your competition and succeed.